Hey everybody, it's BBR Radio. My name is Griffin Hoffman, and with me is Jeff Brewer.
Quarantine edition.
And James Cherrett.
I'm scared.
This is a podcast about crying.
Were we quarantined the last time that we had a podcast?
Yes, we were.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
This is just...
But we were just dipping our toes in the water of the quarantine life.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. If we were in Georgia, we'd be free right now.
Totally.
Oh, I was at the protests. I led the protests.
For science.
You were at the protest having a COVID party.
Exactly. Which is now a bleach party.
Is that like one of the chicken pox parties where you put all your kids together so they all get the pox?
It's more like a rainbow party.
Oh.
It's like a key party combined with another key party combined.
But you put your guns in the bowl instead of your keys.
You're reminding me that I just read something on Reddit about a person who just shot a part of his leg off, just casually. Because, that's what happens when you have weapons in the
Was it
home
Steven
sometimes.
Seagal? Oh, no, sorry. It was... No, God, who's the baseball player?
There were a number of football
Jose
players.
Canseco, shot his own thumb off.
I love how in your head that somehow became Steven Seagal.
Steven
They're
Seagal...
the same person, right?
I mean, Steven Seagal did drive a tank into a home and kill a puppy.
Wait, in real life or in a movie?
In real life.
Oh, Jesus.
It's when he was recording his reality show about being a sheriff, because he was a sheriff in, New Mexico or something. Sure. He, as a stunt, he rode a tank into a home and murdered an animal.
Oh, my God.
It's not funny, but it is.
No, it's not.
Hey, guys, this is a podcast about video games.
Yep. Sometimes.
If I could have any job other than my own, it would be a Foley artist for the Steven Seagal movies, because if you've ever watched, basically he can't do martial arts, but what he does is he'll walk up to someone, just grab a random appendage, and just twist it in a normal fashion, which wouldn't normally cause any damage, but the Foley guy has put in all sorts of cracks and snaps, and really makes you think that person's just whole skeleton just disintegrated the second Steven Seagal touched him.
Steven Seagal has such a towering aura that when you pull a weapon on him, it just stops working. So he can slowly approach you, just waddle up to you, and judo chop you.
This is a genuine question. In any of Steven Seagal's movies, has he ever whipped his hair back and forth to attack? You know what I mean? Because he got that
that's
ponytail.
a good question. I bet he's done it.
Are you saying that he was the original, not Jada,
Who'd
what's
you
her
say?
name?
That is what I'm saying.
What is her name?
Smith.
Jaden. Willow. I knew it was some version of Will, because they literally named their kids swap gender versions of themselves. Jaden and Willow. Jada. Will.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
That was pretty great. I want to find out right now. Steven Seagal hair attack.
It's his
I will
limit
say,
break.
Jaden Smith's anime is very, very good. If you haven't watched it, you should.
He has an anime?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's fucking fantastic.
Ooh, okay.
That's amazing.
Also, Steven Seagal has probably had a hair implant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Bosley?
Dish.
That's what's claimed.
What if he was on the Bosley commercials? Just snapping
Send us.
necks.
Dish that goss, man.
Ooh, I found a very...
What does TMZ have to say about Steven Seagal's hairline?
well, that's what they had to say. It was TMZ.
Is he dead? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's not Kim Jong-un who's dead. It's Steven Seagal.
TMZ never asks, is this person irrelevant? They just go for it. Like, why are they talking about Steven Seagal ever?
Why are you ever not talking about Steven Seagal is the real question.
True.
I found a really wonderful non-cursed image of Steven Seagal, which I'm going to be sharing shortly.
Speaking of never talking about Steven Seagal ever again, let's do this podcast.
No!
Let's do it.
He's got his time.
All right. We can talk about video games.
I guess. So now that we don't do anything anymore and we just live underground, What you guys been playing?
Well, Jeff, I haven't touched it, but Jeff has been playing Animal Crossing, and I think he's got a big problem.
Never heard of it.
I'm just flipping the chair around. I'm just sitting down, and with like a cool teacher. I got a leather jacket on, and I'm just ready to talk to Jeff.
Can I ask you to just reserve your opinions until you finish the game?
Animal Crossing is great up until the last 10 minutes. Then they really throw the whole world building out.
Excuse me. When it turns into KKK slider.
It turns out the whole thing is just Blather's brain in a jar, and he's dreaming the entire world. And then he has to... Penelope Cruz shows up, and she's like, Abrele Zoho. And then he wakes up, and it's all over.
That's amazing.
It sounds better than Lost.
I'll have you know, I got credits in Animal Crossing about 50 hours ago.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
There are credits in that game, yeah.
Huh. All right, well.
So we both completed
go for it.
The post-game now. Whew, that's where the real game is.
That's where it is.
You get credits, and then Tom Nook is like, strap in.
The world of Animal Crossing has just begun. Yeah, what do you think of Leaf?
I haven't met him because I missed him the first day. He has not been back.
So Animal Crossing is really good, and everyone probably knows what it is because it sold literally 5 million copies, and is the best-selling digital game of all time on consoles. But they've been doing free updates, and every time they do...
Thank you, Brie Larson. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, did she advertise it or something? She did, right?
It's on her Instagram. She's advertising it.
She's been tweeting.
Yeah.
And then, she tweets about it, too. Yeah. It's hard to tell if it's genuine. Sometimes there's genuine things.
I know Chrissy Teigen is a major Animal Crossing fan. I don't know about Brie Larson.
Oh, yeah.
But,
yeah.
Frodo too.
Of the zeitgeist.
Frodo is a big fan.
Oh, yeah,
Frodo
true.
went to that person's world and sold his turnips for 600 bells a pop.
Nice.
So they keep having these free updates, and different new animal friends come to town and like ply their wares. But all the new animal friends that have come to town in the updates are very frightening.
Yes.
Like the bunny that has a zipper on his back, and he says, "Don't ever look at my zipper." And if you look at his zipper, he's like, "Hey kid, get away from me. You don't want there to be trouble, do you?"
Well, the nature of the whole game has always been existential. Like very early on, one of your villagers will say like, "Hey, have you noticed it when you hit a tree, wood just flies out of the tree and it doesn't fall down? What's up with that?" And also like the fruit grows in like 3 days. That's weird, right? It's not just me, right? And why is Tom Nook? Why is he giving us all this money for free? This is literally a thing that one of your villagers say. It's very bizarre.
There's a subset.
That's amazing.
There's a subset of villagers that seem to like know, like they break the fourth wall. They're like, "Did you ever think that like maybe we're inside a game?" And you're like, "What is happening?"
Oh, so everybody is Rossetti now. Everybody's following the way of the Rossetti.
No, they're more like questioning. It's more of a Truman Show situation.
Okay.
Where they're like, "What is happening?" It's really good.
And another new character is an art dealer. You can buy art to fill out your museum, and you have to discern whether the art on offer is real or a forgery. Because if it's a forgery, it will not be displayed in the museum. And
that sounds amazing.
That guy is such a skis.
I love him.
He's like, we're family. Yeah. That's why I'm going to give you a discount. I think of you as my brother, as cousin. And then he wants you to buy something for 500,000 bells, and if you disagree, he says, "Okay, just 5,000."
So Red's not new.
Wait,
but I love
so
Red.
back to this art thing. Like, how do you know if it's real or not?
So you can actually study the art, and if you're really good at art, and you like know because it's all real stuff, like you'll know if it's fake.
Okay,
but also you just buy them all if you're lazy like me.
Oh, I see.
Because you've made gazillions of bells by playing the stock market.
Yep,
just like real life.
I was going to say, Animal Crossing is you speculate on the stock market and then you steal money from poor people.
I had my first awkward experience going to someone's island, Jessica's island, to sell turnips. And when you get there, there's this weird social pressure of like, should I like spend some time like, looking at the island and like complimenting them, and like I don't want to waste their time, but I don't want to just like come and just sell my turnips and leave like a weirdo. And there's this weird like social contract, and then you have to tip. So I have to tip, and it's like it's more awkward than walking into a random patient's room and sticking your finger up their butt. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's just second nature. You basically
Yeah.
do that in your sleep at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes you sleepwalk while you're on call into a patient's
Exactly.
room, and then you just put your finger in their butt.
Good morning. My name is
Doesn't
Doctor.
it feel like we're playing a game?
My name is Dr. Buttfinger. I'm here for your butt. Please roll over. Thank you.
Oh no. I feel like it doesn't need to be said, but this is like such a zeitgeisty game for the current moment. Like it is. Man, Nintendo is lucky with their timing. This game was already positioned to do really well, and I think Animal Crossing has become a tentpole. But like, it is the perfect game for now. Like,
But like Nintendo, I would say that the game is just not designed for the way it's being played, and in fact, they're actively discouraging people from doing the things that they're most excited about. Like, people on social media be like, "Oh my god, I found this cool thing," and Nintendo will be like, "Nope, that's gone. Sorry."
you're talking about like how they
what's
nerfed
an example
bugs.
Yeah, they nerfed bugs. Every time someone finds a cool way to like make a lot of bells or do something cool, they're just like, they just take it away. And I got to the point, I just love bridges. So I am making new rivers so I can make new bridges.
Oh, wow.
And I got to the point last night where I wanted to build another bridge, and I went to Tom Nook, and he's like, "Bro, this is a small island. You have 8 bridges. Just stop. I will not let you build another bridge."
I didn't know that was
like,
a thing.
"Yes, he made me stop."
Oh, Tom. I want to see your island with all these rivers and stuff. That sounds cool.
I wanted to have. I bought one of the.
A water world.
I bought one of the cool things about this game, and one of the things that I think makes it so cool. And Griffin McElroy actually said, or no, not Griffin McElroy, Russ Freshtick from Polygon said this. It's like you can have an idea, and you can just do it, and that's what I'm pretty much doing. So I bought a giant dinosaur figure, and I just had an idea like, I want this dinosaur figure to be on kind of an isthmus in between 3 waterfalls and rivers. And I just did that. And then I built bridges over each of them. And in the center, there's this cool dinosaur. And then, so you can pretty much do that, which, as I understand it, you could not do in the previous games, right, Jeff?
Yes. So the terraforming is all new, right? You can modify your island however you want, which is super cool. What I will say is to kind of amend that comment. It's like, if you have an idea, you can just do it, but also be prepared for tedium. Like,
Yeah.
be prepared for it to take a lot longer than it honestly should take.
This sounds a lot like a certain bridge-based game that I played last year.
I'm trying to think
Bridge-based
what
game.
this is. Are you talking about the game where you build bridges?
Yeah.
Sand bridges?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sand
you're
bridges.
talking about that game?
Yeah, that one.
I mean, there's no BBs yet.
Tom Nook Man.
Now I want to make a custom BB and put it in my town.
Man.
Did you put
be
Foxy
cool.
Grandpa in your town, Jamie?
Ooh, what?
What is that?
Did I not send you the pattern for Foxy Grandpa, the hat?
I don't know.
Oh, dog.
Maybe you did?
I'm going to send you Foxy Grandpa.
What is it?
So, Pete, one of the most fun things about this game, or one of the many fun things about this game, is that you can make custom designs for both paths and also like furniture and also clothing. And you can share them online. So people have been sharing amazing stuff on Twitter. Because for whatever reason, Nintendo games, like the unique combination of weird limitations, like kind of awkward arcane sharing methods, and I don't know what else, like I guess Nintendo Charm, make for some really cool Nintendo shit. Or like stuff that people share. And so someone made a hat that said Foxy Grandpa on it. And he got his villagers to wear it and then shared the pattern online. I'll share it with you, Jamie.
How do you get your villagers to wear something? You give them...
That's awesome.
If you display custom designs in Able's store, then that's how it works.
I'm pretty certain, like, all of the fan gamer clothing is available.
That's so cool.
Yeah, like Nina Matsumoto, who does a lot of the design for Fangamer, has like shared a bunch of her stuff on Twitter.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
I don't know
cool.
what
But
it
if
is.
I want to,
Go ahead.
if I want to buy those, but I also want to buy the Play Arts Final Fantasy VII Remake figures, and if I want all 4 of them, it's like $700.
Right.
I don't know which to go with.
I mean, what else are you spending money on these days?
A lot of things.
Oh no! Oh no!
You've asked the wrong person.
You've asked the wrong person. You've asked the exact wrong person.
I need to look this up then.
I'm still waiting for my government money.
I got mine.
I did not.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my Trump bucks too.
I'll send it to you too, Griff. This Foxy Grandpa, it's really good.
Okay.
But anyway, yeah, no, it's just it's a super fun game, and it's this is a series that's been around for a while, and its whole thing is kind of like, if I could be like Tim Rogers-y for a while, like it has a lot of like weird like friction in the game, like everything is kind of harder than it should be, and like has multiple steps involved in it, and has multiple button presses, and has multiple prompts, and like lots of repetition, but there's some weird charm involved in dealing with all that kind of jank, for lack of a better word.
Because it gives you the impression that the things that you see on Twitter would be impossible. Because at first you literally do not have the tools or even the mechanisms to do any of that. And the game has not explained any of that to you. And yet you go on Twitter and you see someone's made like a replica of the moon landing being filmed. And you're like, I don't even know how any of that would work. But then as you play, the game rewards you and lets you in on how those things might be possible. And then you suddenly find out that, yes, it's a little bit annoying, but you can do those things, and it makes you want to do them even more.
Yeah, there's something about, and I typically, when in a game, like really having to work for something just drives me freaking bananas, but I don't know why Animal Crossing, something about the world and its charm and just like the combination of like the aesthetic and the music and kind of the humbleness of it makes it acceptable to me. And also the fact that like you can just put it down at any point, and if you wait long enough, more stuff will come your way.
Yeah, yeah. It is frustrating, though. I do not like how certain things are timed. And as someone who's still working through this, if you miss the turnip cow, you got to wait a whole week. Yeah. And I missed the shrub guy, and, I haven't seen him since then. That stuff is a little annoying. I wish you could call them back or even pay bills to get them to come back. Mm-hmm. But there's just no way. Which, again, in some ways just adds to the mystique and my interest in it, because I'm like, oh man, I missed out, and the FOMO is intense.
I mean, you could time travel if you're a dirty cheater.
I would never do that.
Yeah,
I will Tarantula Island. I will do any number of exploits, but if I were to do that, that's one of those things where it's like I might as well stop playing the game. Like you reach that point in Skyrim, right, where all of a sudden you're just like, I'm just going to open up the console and just give myself $1 million. And then all of a sudden, your desire to play Skyrim just plummets.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that is what would happen.
I agree completely. I think that, some people have different desires from Animal Crossing, and I think for whatever reason, time traveling helps them fulfill those. Like, they just really want to make a cool thing they can share online, but it holds no appeal for me. Mm-hmm. Also kills your turnips.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it does.
Really? Oh man,
yeah.
I didn't know that. Like instantly?
I think so, yeah. I think the moment
I'm so glad you told me that, because I have not given in yet, but now I certainly never will.
But yeah, it's just a well-timed game. Lots and lots of people are playing it. It's really kind of penetrated the public consciousness in a unique way. Like, there are news stories about it. Every weekend on Twitter, it's trending because people are buying turnips and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really zeitgeisty, I've got to say, but it's really fun to be part of that.
So
moment.
One of the things that I think both of you guys know this, but tell me if you don't. I'm writing a textbook on internet gaming, well, all technological addictions, but in addition to editing it, I'm writing the chapter on games addiction, and I have 6,000 words, and it's due on May 1st. And I've written 5,000, and I was not afraid to talk about because they love when you talk about like sexy current topics. So of course I'm talking about how COVID is impacting gaming habits and stuff. And I there's at least 200 or 300 words just about Animal Crossing in my chapter that will be published by the American Psychiatric Association.
Are those 200 words just Tom Nook, Tom Nook, Tom Nook, Tom Nook, Tom Nook, over and over again?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Bit of a tongue twister.
And the only graphics I have are like just pics of Tom Nook. And...
Tom Nook's butt.
And then in the end it just says Timmy Nook?
Don't trust him.
You're more of a Tommy or a Timmy guy?
That is literally an impossible question to answer.
So, Griffin, I don't know if you're aware, the first entry of Animal Crossing, of course, had Tom Nook, but now Tom has, I guess, children? It's not clear who the mother is.
His wife has passed.
It's not clear.
Mysterious.
Who the
There was a Ford Bronco involved, and no.
Sometimes when you talk to Tom, he just says the juice is loose, apropos of nothing. Uh-huh. If I did it, here's what happened. Anyway,
is he in like the Rusty? What is it? Rusty Real Steel Baseball? Rusty? Whatever his name is.
Rusty's
like,
Real
just
Deal.
like the Nintendo Dads Club, single dads club.
Yes, I believe he is. So Tom Nook, I guess he parented. He sired a few
through parthenogenesis.
A few raccoon cubs.
They're exact clones.
Wait, I thought Tom Nook was a Tanuki, not a raccoon.
You're right, he is a Tanuki. So I
thought you guys fucking played games.
He has 2 children.
Jamie, rip your textbook up. He's a fucking Tanuki.
You got it, man. I'm sorry.
He has 2 children who are essentially identical, named Timmy and Tommy. And all Timmy and Tommy ever do is say the same thing at the same time with a slight offset. It's very weird. So they'll be like, your custom is appreciated. And then...
Are they new to this, or are they in Pocket Camp?
They're in Pocket Camp, I think. They're definitely in New Leaf.
Okay. I remember them. I played New Leaf.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand about them, but they exist.
I guess my final question to you, Jeff, is as someone who is familiar with this series, I've never played any of the previous ones before, and is milking this one as I am for all it's worth, is that question that we've already discussed about. Do you feel like Nintendo is at the wheel and they know what they're doing and this is actually like the smartest thing that they've ever done? Or do you feel like this is just a happy accident and they're just being the same Nintendo they've always been and they're going to fumble their way up that money hill anyway?
I think that they're...
The latter.
I don't think it's quite that bad. I think that it is Nintendo and they're not perfect, but I think there were a number of good choices in this game. I thought the whole DIY crafting system, which is brand new for this game, would be a huge dud, and I thought it would drive me bananas. Somehow it actually fits really well with the gameplay, and getting new DIY recipes is always a thrill. I don't know how they managed to make that work so well.
I can't imagine this game without that. I cannot imagine playing this type of game without that. Go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's
so interesting.
Didn't used to be a thing. It was just bells.
Wow.
I think that that brought some new life to the game. I think that the terraforming is really cool. I think they took a little bit of a step back with the villager interaction. I'm a little bit surprised by how little there is there. But I think that the monthly events is very shrewd. I think the way they're rolling them out is online updates. Like, they don't even show up completely in the data mine. Time travelers can't get them. I think it keeps... I think it's the series stepping into, like, the 20-aughts. Like, it's the series stepping into the new century in a really fun and interesting way. And I think it's on a console, on a platform that's really hot. I think that it does offer something unique. It's hard to explain it, though, right? Like, that's the thing with Nintendo. Like, the reason their products are good, like... Yeah, part of it is just blind Nintendo fanboys, but like they penetrate the mass market in a way that other stuff doesn't, and I'm not sure exactly why that is. I don't know if it's the particular aesthetic they've cultivated or if there's just a certain whimsy about them, but I do think that they made some good choices in terms of the staggered rollout of new content, the new additions, the island customization is really great. So I think they made some good calls, and I think that they deserve credit for advertising this series and like treating it like a marquee franchise when another company would be like, check out this game, check out this cool like indie game. This is like a unique kind of game that doesn't fit in with the rest of the game world very well, I don't think necessarily, at least as a AAA title, but they've treated it as such. Like at PAX East, it was their game. That's all they had.
Which as a non-fan really surprised me, and I had an opportunity to go play it, and I gave it to you, and then I didn't really care too much to try, and I went into this with no expectations, and I think one of the reasons why, for me personally, it really grabbed me is that if you're just kind of steeping in that world, it is extremely relaxing. It's very zen. Mm-hmm. If you want to go for it and like really make it a stressful kind of endeavor, you could do that. And there are times when I enjoy doing that. But if you want to go in and just literally wander around, water some flowers, and then turn it off, you can do that too. And it doesn't really feel like you're missing out on all that much.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe to transition, as long as you guys are okay to the next game, like when I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'll go into it thinking like, all right, I have an hour. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I have an hour. I'm just going to play a little bit and I'm going to get into bed. And then it's 4 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God. And nothing has changed. The story hasn't progressed. Nothing has happened. And I'm just...
Wait, there's a story to progress?
We're talking about FF7.
Oh, what? When did that happen?
We switched over.
Just now.
But I've been looking at these figures on the Square Enix store, and I'm not paying attention.
FF7 is definitely more of like, there's a, playing that game, it demands a lot of you, right? Like that, the combat demands a lot of you. It's a tough game. It's surprisingly difficult. And I really appreciate it for that. I'm very happy that the difficulty is solid all the way through.
Yeah, I think that the Final Fantasy in the past has really whiffed on combat that's based on like this stagger system, like it's do enough damage or some arbitrary bullshit, and then you put the enemy in a state where you can do more damage. But I think this one really nails it.
It's amazing that they pulled like the FF15 battle system and the FF13 battle system and then mashed them together, and it somehow works.
You're absolutely right. That's perfect. Yeah,
it makes limit break so exciting because you get the limit and then you're like, your first reaction as a lifelong Final Fantasy player is just to spend it right away. And then you're like, wait, no, I have to hold on to this, manage that character's health really well because I need to get this boss staggered and then I'm going to use the limit.
Yeah.
It's like, it's such an interesting kind of back and forth. And all of a sudden your person with the limit break becomes this glass cannon. And you're like, I got to get them close enough so that it doesn't whiff. And I got to get him, unless it's Barrett and he's going to fire it off from far away. But I also have to make sure that, because most of the bosses, when you get close to them, you're really in harm's way.
Yeah.
So like now you're going to focus on keeping that character healthy as they kind of slowly advance towards the boss. You got to make sure that the boss is in the right phase because you don't want the boss to like jump away. There's so much to think about.
Yeah.
And it's just enough. It never really gets to the point where I've died plenty of times now and I haven't really become frustrated. I think it has a good checkpoint system where when you die, it's like,
you start right
all right, what do you
battle,
want? It asks, do you want to start right before the battle? Do you want to go back to the last time you saved? Do you want to go back to the last checkpoint before that? And you're going to keep your experience. Don't worry about it. You're going to keep the items, any items you used before you died, you're going to keep. Don't worry about it. And so I really like that a lot.
Yeah. I also love that you can whiff the limit breaks.
Yes, I was going to say that too. I love that. It struck me very early on in the game, like, oh shit, like this just doesn't automatically hit.
There's a refreshing lack of automation in the combat, which some people have complained about it because they're like, oh, the AI on your comrades is really bad. Well, it's like, okay, maybe it is, but it encourages you to actually go in there and do stuff with them, like actually be active in the battle system and like keep an eye on your character's gauges and pause the action to assign them attacks. But it's also not overwhelming, right? It's not like it's constantly moving. Like when you want to, you just hit that button and then everything stops or slows way down.
And they know that. Like if they made the cohort AI really good, there would be no reason to give you materia like autocure, which only works when it's assigned to a non-controlled party member.
Yeah.
So they know that you're thinking about that kind of thing, and they know that if you're the kind of person who's always forgetting to switch to someone else to heal, okay, we can give you a materia that will make that AI a little smarter for you. Yeah. But it will still only, even if you have it equipped, it still will only work if you're not controlling that character. And so that kind of encourages you to do these crazy things where you're swapping back and forth. And it's even cool. Like sometimes I'll just press the X button just to see like Tifa like spinning around in midair doing something crazy. Yeah. And I'm like, that's awesome. So it's cool.
Also, I've got to say, I'm very happy with the general materia implementation. I don't think it's quite as... In some ways, it lacks the depth of the original game, but I think that their implementation feels true in a way that I didn't think it would, and it feels like they're kind of doing some fun little extra things that they didn't do in the original game that are like centric to this new battle system with the materia, like the autocure and a couple of other materia that you get later in the game. So I think that's super cool, and I'm glad that they preserved as much as they could reasonably of the materia. Like all the different colors of materia still exist, albeit in slightly different forms.
I think what they're doing with the equipment...
Did you guys get Knights of the Round yet?
No, it's not in this game.
Yeah, in this game, Knights of the Round, every time you cast it, is 45 minutes.
No, the summons are...
You actually have to...
The summons are...
You have to play a different Square Enix game to get it to happen.
If you play the mobile game. If you beat the FF7 pinball game.
Ooh. The snowboarding game?
I just wanted to say, I love what they're doing with the equipment, where it's like... And I think that leads to more interesting choices that you have to make with the materia, because if you want that bracer with 3 or 4 materia slots, you're going to take a hit to your defense and offense. Like you have to choose, do I want more materia slots or do I want more? And with the weapons, all of the weapons are viable until the end, and you use the weapon that makes that character essentially the class that you want that character to be, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I was going to say also, I think the way that they handled, like, summoning, we alluded to Knights of the Round in 45 minutes. Summoning is actually really fast. They give you, so this is, again, it's a minor spoiler for the battle system, and I don't think you're going to care, Griff. They give you a meter that fills up in certain scenarios that allows you to summon, and certain summons are allowed in certain situations, which can feel a little cheap. Like, some battles won't let you summon certain guys. I think ostensibly because there's not enough space for them, but the way that it actually works is surprisingly balanced and surprisingly just as active as the normal combat system. So what happens is usually after a certain condition is met, like let's say you stagger the enemy, or you take a certain amount of damage, or you reach a certain phase of the boss battle, your summon meter will show up, and then it'll start filling. And once it fills, you can spend ATB, so you can spend either a bar or 2 bars, depending on what the summon is, and you get to summon that creature, and then you have to use your own character's HEB meters to use attacks on the summon. So like the summon will show up and do like pleb attacks, like occasional hits here and there, but to actually use its abilities you have to spend your character's ATB. So it actually feels surprisingly balanced and strategic to use summon abilities. It's not just like you hit a nuke button. And they end...
Can I boost it?
No, you cannot boost it, sadly. You can hit the square button. They come out quick. They all look super cool. And they feel like they can turn the tide of battle, but like you have to use them well. And like they have...
Wait.
Yeah, go ahead.
Wait.
Go ahead.
I've played Final Fantasy VII. Granted, I've never beaten it, but I've played Final Fantasy VII Original many, many times. You're telling me that you can press square and it makes summons more powerful?
No, that's
yeah, that happens at the end of the game in the last battle.
No, it's FF8. He's just fucking with you.
Oh, thank God.
Do you know how you're boosting from FF8?
No.
Oh, it's so fucking garbage.
So you'd buy an ability called Boost, and then so once the summon animation is playing, you can hit square unless there's an X, in which case it goes back down to 0. But you can boost summons up to 255.
Yeah,
wow.
It incentivizes watching the full cutscene,
and they do more damage.
That's dastardly of them.
It's horrible.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, no, it's terrible.
But yeah, so the summons are actually really cool, and they do have like ultimate attacks they use when they leave, but it still feels strategic, and they actually integrate into the gameplay super well, despite the fact that like they initially kind of feel like a bit of an afterthought, because it's like, oh, you have this like special slot where you can put summon material and you can only put one per character, and it's like, this is weird, but it works really well.
They can be very powerful, and yet at the same time, when you have the option to summon them, because it is still a strategic choice, there are certainly times when I don't, and I'll just say, you know what, Ifrit, I appreciate you, I like you, but you know what, go sit on the bench, it's cool, I got this, and I'll call you later.
Yeah,
thank you.
Sometimes you're like, I'd rather like cast Cure than summon.
Yeah.
Also, Griffin just sent a Cactar Conductor. I need to see this.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome. This Gabby Cactus has one sassy attitude. The Cactar Conductor is a signature character in the magical world of Grimoire, where the tiny Linkle... Oh, no, okay, now we're going down the rabbit hole. Goodbye.
Also, he's so cute. I want him in my life.
Yeah, yep, same here.
But anyway, yeah.
Jamie, you broke me telling me about these things. I've just been nonstop looking at these fucking Square Enix store figures.
You're welcome.
Combat in FF7 is super good. Way better than I thought it was going to be, and I'm super happy about that. I think that to me makes me really excited about the whole series, because I think that they've put in a really amazing skeleton, and I think there's room for more kind of improvisation and development as new characters roll out.
Do you feel like there's the need for more meat to the combat as hypothetical sequels come out?
No, I think it's pretty good the way it is. I think that I'd like to see characters that have more like unique gimmicks. So like once you get, you have Barrett right now, right, Griffin?
I've played with him, but I don't have him in my party. It's just me and Tifa. Just Cloud and Tifa.
Has she fought any battles with you? Okay.
Yeah.
So you've seen like Tifa's gimmick, her whirling uppercut into Omni Strike, into whatever it's called. So they all the characters have a gimmick like that with their triangle move.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I think that could help to differentiate the remaining characters in the game. Kind of exploring those gimmicks a little more.
Does Cloud's motorcycle have a good gimmick?
Yes, actually it does.
Good. Oh, shit. Yeah, hell yeah.
Actually, the motorcycle parts of the game are really cool. Yep.
Sweet.
Would you
very
agree with
very
that,
cool.
Jamie?
Oh, 100%. 100. There's so many, and just not to get into details, just speaking broadly, there are so many things about this game which are like just little things that are one-offs or two-offs that they clearly spent so much time on.
Yeah.
And so much love and attention poured into that. There are parts of this game where clearly not enough love and attention was paid. But I think that like some of the things, it's like no Western developer would spend this much time and mental energy designing like this mini game, and I love that. Even if the mini games aren't always incredibly fun, and most of the time I think they are.
Yeah, they're pretty good mini games.
You're just. I'm constantly thinking like, who puts this amount of manpower into making a darts game? This is nuts.
So one of the best ways I've heard this game described, and I really feel it's incredibly apt, is it's Final Fantasy meets Yakuza.
Yes.
Where I'm really starting to feel like the slums is like Kamurocho. Like, I don't need a map to navigate it anymore. I know where the locations are. Like, it's become really familiar for me. I know where all the shops are because there's only so many of them, and it's limited in size. And you're doing these odd jobs for these odd characters, and it really starts to like feel like a lived-in world with real people, with real, like, to the extent where you're saying like, who would put this amount of depth into a mini game? It's like, yeah, there's also like a lot of depth into the Sector 7 slums that you're in. It feels alive. It feels like you're in, like that dude is gonna fucking pick that barrel up at some point, right? Like, he's gonna get it.
I've been watching those guys for way too long.
I was very surprised. So when I first walked into Sector 7, I don't know if you guys had this experience. When you first go in there, and this is early game. I don't think it's a spoiler too much. The game sort of pushes you on this extremely linear path. You have to follow Tifa, I believe, or Barrett back to Seventh Heaven, and you can't go anywhere, and you can't do anything. And I was like, "Is this it?" I was like, "Is this all I'm gonna get out of Sector 7 slums?" And then even once you're like released and allowed to walk around, like there's no buildings you can enter, there's nothing you can do. And I felt really I felt disappointed, and I was like, "Oh, this is like all we're gonna get out of these places." But then the game's like, "Nah, just kidding." Like, actually, there are item shops and enterable buildings and interactable NPCs. Yeah. But did you have that brief moment of panic where you were like, "Oh no"?
I didn't have a brief moment of panic, but I got that feeling of like, all right, here is where this looks really cool for another Square Enix hallway. Yep. Excellent. And then, you go and you rest, and it's like, now it's an MMORPG. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I can get behind this.
I didn't have that moment of panic, and it's probably just because I think we all like Final Fantasy VII, but I think that I'm the most like breathlessly in love with the game, and they managed. I was worried going in. I played the demo. I love the demo, but at every little step along the way, they were giving me hints that they really thought about all of this. They really cared about this. So I was kind of like along for the ride right from the beginning, and I have just been very impressed with all the little touches and everything, and it's really helped me be on board with the whole thing.
Also,
do you guys think this revitalizes the Final Fantasy brand?
I do, actually.
I do.
I was going to say that I don't know that you necessarily love it the most, Jamie. I think you always think that, because I think your mode of sort of interacting with new media is always like you're most effusive at the start, right? So
yes,
typically when something comes out, you're really, really effusive. I take a little more critical eye, but in the end, it all washes out, right? And I think this game, by and large, I absolutely loved. If I did have to identify a criticism, I do think that it is a little linear, and it does sometimes turn into hallways. That said, the hallways are really good.
Yeah.
Which I don't think there's anything wrong with that, right? Like,
no.
You had Final Fantasy 13, which had hallways, and they were bad.
They're bad hallways.
If they're hallways and they're done well, that's fine. Yakuza is a hallway game, and I think that game is fantastic.
I think the only issue with hallways is they become a little bit problematic when you start thinking about, like, what does that look like in game 2? Like, how do the hallways work in the second game? Where, like, it's not like, how do you handle the concept of like a world map with visitable towns?
You're not going to get one.
Probably
but
not.
Why do we have to have a world map?
Well, that's what
Square ditched that a long time ago. Well, and then they brought it back, and we loved it.
That's why I said the concept of a world map, right? They might not do that. They might do something different. But I noted sort of that there are moments that are pretty linear in this game, and again, I don't want to get too deep into sort of just the rest of the game, but I sort of thought about how they related to, because I think the previous, like the FF7 original was also pretty linear at times, and that was fine. But sometimes I think about, like, does this game appreciably let me feel like I have some agency? Like, can I go around battles? It's like, not really. Like, can I, at any moment, can I make multiple choices in how I proceed?
But you can run away from battles.
You can?
Yeah.
I didn't even know.
Not always.
Yeah, you can just, just in like the random encounters, like I was going through the abandoned factory and I was like, fuck this shit, I'm out. And then I just, ran away from these people. And
sometimes there's
unfortunately,
like stuff you can't climb.
Yeah, exactly. If there's a ladder or a door, you can't.
Okay, that's fine.
That's
fine. I can get down with that. Yeah, no, I don't think it's too bad. I think again, FF13 was like linear horrible. This is like linear amazing. So I think it works great. I would like to see them, hopefully with next gen technology, experimenting a little bit with like kind of the wide linear that is provided through like Uncharted and things like that, or just like having.
Wait, Uncharted is a wide linear?
Yeah, that's how they describe their game design.
Interesting. Okay, I see that in 4.
Yeah, I was about to say,
not the previous games.
Uncharted 4. Yeah,
Okay.
like wide linear, or just sort of. I mean, there were moments of choice for sure in those games in FF7, but yeah, I just want to see some iteration on that in future entries. I think it worked well for this title, but I think in future entries, I think it could become a stumbling block.
It's interesting that that's your critique of it, because I have zero interest in any sort of like widening of the scope. I think that this is, and maybe this is just because I'm still fresh in it, like, but I appreciate a game that is going to take me from point A to point B, and not. I don't need the wide open MMORPG style worlds, and then even like lesser degrees of it. I think there's some merit to it, but to me, the Final Fantasy worlds are, you know, microcosms of environments, biomes that you go explore and do things in, and then you retreat to the world map and you find some little kitschy areas. But it that worked when games were simpler, and as you see, like Sector 7 Slums, it's the amount of work that must have went into creating that must have just been exhausting. And that is one area, and I don't need more than that. And sorry, I shouldn't say that. I appreciate it, and I would love more of it, but I don't need a world. I don't need to go to every plate and see that.
No,
like, I don't need the original 7 like world map with all that detail.
I think it's a little bit naive to be like, you know, create this entire environment that some players aren't even going to see, because I think it's given the budget of this game and given the amount of work that went into it, it's probably a little bit silly to expect that to be a thing. But even just allowing some backtracking from time to time, like, you know, you don't necessarily have to expend a lot of additional development funds on it, but just like creating situations where players have a choice about what to do, even if that choice is like, I want to go back and see what I was up to before and like how that's changed in terms of dialogue. Yeah.
Isn't it after you finish the game you have like complete freedom to go do anything?
Yes.
Or is that not true?
You get a chapter select after you finish the game.
Okay. Got it.
And where Jamie is right now, you have a pretty cool degree of freedom, I would say.
Yeah, you can pretty much
you can move
just
around.
You can move around and do what you want to do. And
well, let's forget the airship, right?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, it's Reno's helicopter. You just you Terminator 2 him out of the helicopter. Get out, and you just throw him out, and then it's yours.
I thought he was going to spin his hair braid really fast.
Turks are cool in that game. Yeah. So there's another criticism I have, but I can't talk about it yet.
Fair enough. You know what I like about this game is the posters.
Oh my god, they're
on the
so
wall.
good.
The Loveless one that's coming in June. I'm excited to see that concert. I love at the outset Benora White.
I did not see the Benora Whites, but
Benora White made me laugh so fucking hard.
I encountered another Crisis Core reference. Very small one though. Yeah.
Okay. What was it?
The name of a person. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you privately, so Jamie doesn't know. But anyway, it's not like Angeal. Don't worry. If it were that, I'd be mad.
Okay. Was it Gact? Somebody named Gact?
Gact is a real person.
Well, yeah, but he did the
Did
theme
you
song.
see?
No, Angeal was modeled after.
Yeah, I know.
Gact.
No, Genesis was.
Genesis.
Did you see the Hair Tonic poster?
All canon.
Did you see the Hair Tonic poster, Griff? It's so good.
Extra spiky.
So good.
It's so good.
I think what strikes me about this world, so Griff, you kind of hit on it a little bit with the Yakuza thing. Like, it's like they took the first 5 hours of the game, right, which is Midgar, and then people who, like, clearly loved...
Tim Rogers would disagree with you about that, but go on.
People who clearly, like, loved and understood these characters and, like, really thought about them and what might be their motivations and how to make their motivations fit into a larger... like world, just like went mad in depth. Like went in depth to a degree that I think you don't see in a lot of games, and is kind of like, in a sense, it's almost even brave to go as crazy in depth as they did, and to spend so much time developing the world and thinking about motivations. Like Jamie and I could probably speak to this privately. Like they have introduced some subplots and like fleshed out kind of reasons for things in a way that feels so organic and so in line with like what I would expect from that world, and actually like makes everything way cooler. And
it is so.
And you're saying that because I'm not at
Correct.
that, right?
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
okay, not like some true secret Final Fantasy VII.
No. I just don't want to spoil you at all.
Will only Final Fantasy VII lovers will only understand
I just don't
this.
want to spoil.
I think we talked about this recently, and it's because I was reading stuff about like Haruki Murakami and Japanese storytelling modes in general, whereas, in Western stories we care about plot and plot rules, and the rules need to make sense and be consistent. In Japanese storytelling, they don't care about rules, they'll change rules. They don't care about consistency. All they care about is the oeuvre and the like the sense of place and the feel that it's conveying. And if they want to convey a feel or an emotion and doing so would open up a plot hole, it doesn't matter because that's what they want to do. Whereas this game is like the opposite in like a shocking way. Yeah. This game is like, this is the overarching plot. This is each character's motivation within that plot. And one of the things that I'm really impressed with is so many of the small characterizations, which I may have been reading into playing this game 20 years ago, the original. They took things that the characters had to explicitly say back then because the character models had no subtle facial tweaks or anything like that. And they take them and they take those characterizations and they make them into just little expressions and grunts and things that the characters say and do, but all of them reinforce the characterizations that they're trying to portray. And it's really cool to see that, like every little sigh that Aerith makes reinforces who she is. Yeah. And like, I think that's really, really cool.
And I think we can all find common ground. Like, in the beginning of the game when Barrett is just like pontificating about saving the planet and Cloud's just like, ugh.
and Jessie turns to him and just puts her hand on his shoulder, like,
She's
just
let him go. That moment, you're like shit, like what they're doing with Barrett, like they're making him look like kind of a pain in the ass. And
But I also disagree. Like, when you accomplish the objective and then he gives that rousing speech, you're like, okay, maybe this guy does have something to him.
No, I agree. That's the other side of the coin.
Sorry if I cut you off.
I agree. Yeah. It's the other side of the coin. Like, they're showing Barrett they're adding texture to Barrett in a way that, and again, I think Barrett is kind of problematic as a character in that game. I do think that sometimes the style of sort of voice acting they went for with him just feels a little bit racial, for lack of a better word. But the stuff they're doing with like his motivations as an eco-terrorist and sort of the ramifications of that, first of all, and like, how he came to that, like in some ways you're like, oh yeah, like I could totally recognize this kind of person who's like a little bit deluded about how awesome they are, but also like a good leader.
Every character has an internal struggle that is very present throughout your time with them, except for Cloud, and that's because of reasons that we already know that I won't say. But every character except Cloud has reservations about what they're doing, and at the same time believes in what they're doing, and that just is constantly played out, and you see it in different lights throughout your time with those characters, and it's really cool. And Cloud doesn't have that, but what you get with Cloud is you get that really cool, like the only time JRPGs have done amnesia right type of situation thing, which I like. I think that's really cool.
Cloud is pretty messed up, guys.
Yeah, he's pretty...
I don't know why anyone travels with that guy, because he's having problems all the time.
Yeah.
Especially in the early game. In the early game...
I'm excited to see more of that, because everybody's like, oh, Cloud's a dingus, Cloud's a shit talker, Cloud's a biz. I'm like, I actually kind of enjoy this character, and I can find some relation. Maybe the quarantine life is getting to me too much. I'm like, yeah, man, fuck that shit.
No, I enjoy his character. I think
he's
really interesting. He changed. He changes substantially throughout the... And it's a change that you do see in the original game, but it's cool to see them. They do. I don't think it's a spoiler to say, I'm not going to give any specifics, but they take several plot elements which do not happen in Midgar, and they give you hints of those elements, not to spoil anything, but just to give you the overall sense that this is what's happening and this is the world that we're in. because I can't show you those things because you're not going to go to those places.
Yeah. Well,
oh my god, was that scene? I laughed so fucking hard when he drew the Buster Sword in the door frame and could not swing it.
Yes.
I fucking died. That was the highlight of the game.
Was that when he's dealing with... so we've all seen Sephiroth, because he shows up early. Is that when he sees Sephiroth?
He's having his hallucination, and he's just getting into bed, and it's such a good... It's such good visual gag comedy that, like... It speaks so... I think you both have said this before, where it's like, this game is obviously made by people who obsessed over the first game and are also fans of the first game and are also, like, uniquely aware of everything that is Final Fantasy VII, where, it'd be fucking... Like, how do you swing that thing? Or, you know, our jokes about Crisis Core and the allusions to it, that they're present and it's aware of it. Like, it just feels so... like lovingly crafted,
and it's not. Go on. I was just going to say, it's not just real quick. It's not afraid to have a sense of humor at all. And there's a point. There's an enemy that's introduced. I won't give any specifics.
I know who you're talking about already.
There's like there's
it's a set piece.
I don't know if I'm talking about. I don't know if we're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
A couple bad guys are hyping up this enemy,
it's the same
and they're
thing.
like, he's gonna F you up, and then you see the enemy. I was on the floor. I could not.
It's a moment that is like both wonderful homage and also just the coolest freaking thing ever on so many.
I'm so happy to keep playing this game because it just, like, to hear you guys say that those beats don't stop, like, I cannot wait to play more of it.
It's a surprisingly hilarious game, and it's unafraid of being, like, awkward, like, in an intentional way and funny.
Yeah,
Also,
and
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, just going along with that, like, you do get the sense that through those moments that it's funny, you get the sense that yes, the writers they know exactly what they're doing, but also you get this. How can I talk about this? Because this is something we all know. So in the first game, there's a secret that all the characters are hiding from the main character, and in the original game...
I think you can spoil the secret from the first game. It's okay.
I was just going to say, in the first game, you don't really get the sense that the characters who are hiding that secret from the main character are doing so, or that they're cognizant of that, or that that's a struggle for them. And in this game, I feel like you get that. Not only do you get that, you get the sense that characters like Aerith really have a sense of what's going on, and they kind of are regretting that you're getting sucked into this, but they know, she knows exactly what's going to happen, and the foreshadowing in the story is just wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I was going to say, this is jumping back a little bit, but I wanted to just touch on. So, Jamie, a long time ago, you in describing Harry Potter talked about geometry of scene. Mm-hmm. And I think this game, just thinking about that Buster Sword moment and a lot of other moments in the game, has like a really good sense of the geometry of Midgar and kind of how that interface is. Like, there's just a lot of energy expended on justifying and like making true the geometry of Midgar. So like, I feel like in the original game, like you go to a place and you get there and it's not entirely clear like how you got from under the plate to over the plate. And this game just like is obsessed with the minutiae of like, how would you actually navigate this space and get from point A to point B? And also just in the cutscene design, like there's so much attention paid to like where characters are and what they're doing. It feels luxurious to me.
Oh yeah, and that skybox. Oh my god! I mean, just you're seeing the things that you remember from the first game. You're seeing Tifa's bar. You're seeing in that weird central edifice in Sector 5 with the TV screen next to it, and then you look up and you see the plate. And it's done so well, and it's not a spoiler to say there are moments later in the game where you're on the bottom of the plate and you're looking down, and you could. It's every time that you do something like that, it just feels so right. And large segments of the plot right now, I'm at a point where you're trying to literally like hours of the plot are just devoted to we need to get somewhere. And we can't. How are we going to do that? Yeah. And it's so cool.
Although the thing you just did was a little bit of like a little side trip, but I felt like that was a good little side trip.
Yeah. I don't see. So getting onto the side quests, at times I think that they're a little bit. I love this game, but I do think at times the side quests get a little bit bloated. But at the same time, it's like they know me and they want me. They're like okay, chew the fat now, and I'm like I don't want to chew the fat. I want to go to the Shinra building. I know what's going to happen there, and they're like, no, chew the fat. Also, and I'm like, okay. And then I do, and it's delicious.
Also, those side quests, like they do a nice thing with the side quests, which is they put them in like a numbered list, first of all, so you kind of know there's not too many, and they all kind of go quickly. Like Griffin, you had to do the cat finding side quest, and I'm sure when you got that quest, you groaned because you were like, okay, love cats. Like,
no.
Okay, I groaned because I was like, I love cats, and I love how much this game seems to love putting cats in because there are lots of cats.
There are so many cats in this game.
And they keep coming. The cats start coming and they don't stop coming.
It's like there's like a character that's a cat in the game.
Almost.
He's actually a cat spelled with a...
Oh, yeah, sorry. I misspoke.
It's catchy.
Yeah, I know it's catchy, buddy.
Jeez.
Anyway, so I got that question. I kind of groaned because I was like, oh, this is going to be filler bullshit. But it actually, like, it's very streamlined and kind of is okay. And, like, the quests that you get in Sector 7, for example, give you fun little areas to explore, which let you play with the combat and, like, fight some enemies that are a little more powerful. So that's really cool. And then when you do the quests, the game's like, hey, you did some side quests. Enjoy this discovery. Did you get the discovery, Griff?
I don't think so.
You get a little reward. You get a little reward for doing your side quests.
I have one side quest left to do, and I can't figure out where to talk to the junk dealer.
The junk dealer?
I have to... A creature flew in from the train graveyard and went to the abandoned factory, and the lady's just like, smash all the boxes! And the quest log's like, go talk to the guy, go talk to junk dealer in the pillar, and there's nobody around that's the junk dealer. So I'm like,
smash
okay.
the boxes. I think you'll find a key in there.
Yeah,
I think that's what I was too, but just it's weird. The quest log is like, go talk to the junk dealer.
There's some awkwardness where sometimes the game just like, maybe I don't know, like there used to be something going on beforehand or something, but there are a couple of things where you're like, this is not quite accurate. Like some of the quests you have to do with the weird gray-haired guy don't spell themselves out very well, but it's very minor.
I do get the sense that this game was built over not just like the years that they've told us is the development cycle. Like I get the sense that someone made some part of Sector 7 like a long time ago and that texture is still there and they've just iterated on it and built on it. And I think overall it's okay, but it is kind of shocking and it does take me personally out of the game when you have these incredibly high poly character models with subsurface scattering and micro expressions, and then there's a door that they're leaning against, which is literally just a flat texture. And you're like, wow, that just really doesn't look right. But those moments are few and far between.
Yeah, and I don't mind it. Sometimes I'll notice it and I'm like, whatever. Like, you know, this is a 750 Ti that's generating beautiful character models and I don't give a shit.
Yeah, true.
But, yeah, go ahead.
How much... In the grand scheme of games that never came out, how does this rank in the pantheon if this were the CyberConnect game? Like, what does that even fucking look like?
Oh, you mean like if the CyberConnect game came out instead of this game, would it be as good?
Yeah, or like just even playing a build of the CyberConnect game. Like, what does that even look like? Like in the legendary pantheon, are you guys interested in it, or are you like, nope, this is enough for me?
I'm glad that they took it in house. I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm glad they took it in house.
Yeah, me too. Because it sounds like it allowed them to focus on. It really feels like they took certain moments, like certain plot moments, and they were like, we need to pour everything we have into this moment. And I feel, and then, yeah, the side quests are going to be a little half-baked, whatever, but you're still going to be able to spend some time in those iconic places. But we're going to put everything into this one moment.
This game reminds me a lot of how people speak about Metroid Prime. where it's effusive. Like they're like, oh, they fleshed it all out. Like it's a reimagining. It's just done so well. Like I never felt that about Metroid Prime. Like I don't care about those games at all, and I do love the Metroid series, but it almost feels like this is not necessarily like a remake. Yes, obviously, but it feels like it could almost be a different game.
Well, it's so luxurious in what it does. Like sometimes, again, you can sometimes feel like, okay, I'm being patted a tiny bit, but like 90% of the time or more, you're like, holy shit! Like I didn't initially buy this. You know, like I've seen so many things split into parts, and this feels a little cheap. But like everything they're doing actually adds real texture to this world, and actually adds connective tissue that I appreciate. And I don't even feel like I deserve it because it's so nice to get. It's like you're luxuriating.
I'm with you, Jeff. I'm more than happy. Like if this creates a trend for future JRPG design of like, let's not make anything new anymore. Like, hey, we've told the story, the epic tale. Let's just like you said, luxuriate on those divine portions of it, and in doing so, we're going to segment it and expand on those things that you really are interested in, like the characters and the motivations and their interactions, and this kind of becomes a new game design of like, how do we unearth this old relic and turn it into something that is modern, but understanding that you have to be patient to get the full story. Well, or what you thought was the full story once upon a time.
Ludicrously high quality remakes seem to be the thing right now. Like Capcom with RE2 remake, like that game is so much better than it has any right to be. Like it really feels like a reimagining, like a full reimagining that keeps a lot of the original stuff intact, right?
But then there's RE3,
which I heard was
remake.
A little bit truncated or something. What was wrong with that one?
The fact that it was just RE3.
Mm-hmm. I think it was a little too short, and it wasn't scary, and Nemesis isn't as cool as Mr. X and all that stuff. But what I really think is fascinating is my largest anxiety going into this game was they're going to be too precious with it, and it's going to be too breathless. It's going to be too slavish, and they're not going to take any risks. And somehow they've walked the line between being like, okay, no, this type of scene, it might not be the exact scene, but when this character talks with this character about this, that's sacred, and we are going to pay homage to that. And then at the same time, they're like, oh, and we're completely changing this. Yeah, and so it rewards you for remembering those old moments and surprises you and delights you by changing things up. And nothing that they've changed so far has made me angry or frustrated. It's only kind of made me really curious about the world and what's going on.
Sometimes like an iconic scene will happen again, except there'll be a new piece of information that doesn't feel at odds with it. But it's like, oh, I never thought of that. Like, holy crap, that really adds a layer to this.
Yeah. It's really cool.
Yeah. But I need you guys, I feel like we should probably shift so I can briefly talk about my stuff and Griff can talk about his, because we're over an hour. But I need you guys to beat this game I can talk about the rest of it, because, oh man.
I'm trying.
Don't rush it too much, Griff, but holy crap.
Oh, no, I'm definitely, I'm clearing out all the side quests. I'm having a good time with it. I'm happy to hear that Patrick Warburton is still getting work.
Who does he voice?
Just some background characters.
I was
just talking about how great this little slow
is. I was immediately, when I heard Heidegger talk, I was like, that's John DiMaggio, and it was.
Oh, awesome.
Bender is Heidegger. But anyway, shall I talk about something else?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend too long on it because we're already over an hour, and I need you guys to. Or I don't know how much you guys like XCOM. Do you like XCOM?
I do.
I got the dumb brain.
Yeah, it's too hard, dude. They kill you in that game.
They
do, and the percentages are like real percentages.
Let me tell you about this other game called XCOM Chimera Squad, which I feel like is the perfect entry point into the XCOM series. So,
whoa.
But what if I've already played it and I re-entry point or
entry plug? It's the perfect entry plug. You get into the...
I only like exit plugs.
Wait, is that what they call it? LCL?
I'm thinking about it too, Jeff. It's like, is that it?
I need to boot up Evangelion again. Anyway, so XCOM Chimera Squad, it's out now. as of, I don't know when this podcast will go up, but before May 1st, it's half off. So it's literally a $10 game. Relies heavily upon assets and the engine of XCOM 2. Slightly less jank than XCOM 2 was. I don't know if what people's experience was, but I played that on a fairly high-end PC at the time, and like the last battle in that game like brought my system to its knees. Whereas XCOM Chimera Squad seems to run a little bit better, although definitely it still requires some decent hardware to run. But anyway, so it's the central conceit of this game is it's basically XCOM, except instead of having to kind of build your own army, you get a squad of kind of pre-baked recruits, and they change the rules a little bit. So like if you die in combat, all you have to do is stabilize your companion. Like they'll never die outright. They'll just start bleeding out, and you have to stabilize them. And if you don't, then you lose the battle and you have to start over.
Interesting.
So it kind of respects like individual skirmishes a little bit more like an SRPG, like protect Ramza. Like if Ramza crystallizes, then you lose. Like it's the same deal.
Gotcha.
And they've added like a turn timer. So I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh, you can see the full battle timeline.
Whereas in the original XCOM, it was like squad turn, enemy turn. Now it's like there's a turn timer. You have actions that can affect the turn timer. So like you can move characters up in the timer. You can move enemies down. You have a lot of familiar XCOM actions. And the skirmishes are smaller. So you have lots of like little mini skirmishes. And they all have breaches. So the way the game works is you like go into a room and you do like prep. So remember in XCOM 2 there was concealment. Every time you enter a mission, you start in concealment. And you could break concealment by firing on an enemy, and there was choices to be made around that. Now it's when you go into a room, it's like a self-contained encounter. There's maybe like, anywhere from like 4 to 10 enemies in there. And you can breach, and sometimes there'll be multiple breach points that will require certain types of units. So like you'll have some pre-battle intel, like, okay, there's a vent on this one, and there's a character in my team who can go through vents, and if they go through the vent, they'll get like special perks for breaching from that point. Or like there's like a wall that you can blow up with a breaching charge. So like there's some strategy and sort of
sounds so
it's
cool.
so cool. And so there's different perks and like downsides associated with different parts. And when you breach, you can all like fire on enemies, and some enemies can fire back. So you might want to prioritize those, or you might want to prioritize a more difficult enemy. So that's all super cool. And then when you go in there, it's after the breach, it's like straight up XCOM for $10, and with a little bit more of like an accessible feel to it, because there is a strategy layer still. There's still some cool stuff going on where you're making choices about, how to prevent like city unrest from rising out of control. But it all just feels like a microcosm of XCOM without like the frustrating permadeath elements that I think turn a lot of people off. And the difficulty can be tuned really any way you want. Like when you start the game, it's like choose whatever difficulty feels good for you. I chose, I think, Expert, which is like one down from the top. You can make it so that like if you die, you lose your save, or you can make it so that if you die, nothing happens. And the game does a really good job of sort of making death matter, but not quite as much. So like if your characters die in combat and you stabilize them so that they don't bleed out, they'll get battle scars, which debuff their stats. And you can train away their battle scars, but training them away costs days.
Oh, that's cool.
And it requires you to use team members you're not familiar with, and the way the game gives you new team members is really cool. Like you have to choose, you get new team members kind of doled out over time and for meeting certain milestones, and you have to choose between like one of 3 at any given moment. So there's just lots of fun, like little meaningful choices and like cool squad-based combat, and just like
I appreciate.
Yeah,
I was just going to say, I appreciate them if they're going to make it more story-based and these are characters with names and stories, as opposed to just like, Marine, why? I feel like it's good that they don't die.
Yeah.
Or you can prevent them from dying.
Yeah, no, they never die. If a character were to bleed out, I think you fail the mission. I've never had it happen, but I think that's what ends up happening. So either you have to finish the mission before they bleed out, or you have to stabilize them. And then even if they do like die in the middle of a mission, you can send out like an android to replace them, so it's not the end of the world.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's cool, and the story is told by like comic book cutscenes. I think that's how they saved money. They're fine. I mean, the story is like not anything to like lose your mind over, but it's serviceable. It has that same energy that all the other XCOM games had, of just sort of like trying to uncover a mystery and like using missions to advance towards, breakthroughs and milestones and stuff. The little like ancillary conversations that happen between the different characters is really fun, and there's like little like pieces of lore that are cute. It's just a really fun game, and I feel like I'm getting such a steal for a $10 game. I've already put like 8 hours in, and I feel like
ever since Mirror's Edge, I'm down with comic book storytelling.
Oh yeah, it doesn't bother me at all. I feel like if that's how they wanted to save money, great. Like this is a super fun game that is giving you some fun new toys to play with and letting you like control aliens, which is cool, right? Because they have a lot of diversity in their play style. I really like the Viper one that can like pull enemies in with her tongue and then bind them. She's super cool. She can pull guys out of cover. There's like a close combat focused guy who can go up and punch people. He's pretty cool. Cool. It's a great game. I think again for $10 you really can't go wrong.
Looking forward to it.
I'm almost just tempted to buy it just because it's so cheap right now. Support the developers and be like, hey, more of this, please. My bad brain will not let me do well at this, but I still think this is rad. What they're doing.
Play the dumb baby difficulty.
Okay.
Or don't. I don't know. It's real good though. But I don't need to say much else about it other than I really like it, and I'll probably play it a whole bunch more today.
Cool.
Nice.
But that's all.
Griffin, tell us about Dragalia or Nioh.
Yeah, do you think I should get this 2B action figure? Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
definitely
I think you should.
It's only 80. Yes. No, I don't need to tell you any more about Dragalia Lost, except that I went down a dark path one day. In my quarantine depression, I looked up how to play Grand Blue Fantasy, and fortunately, due to technical difficulties, did save me from myself. I was playing it through the internet browser, and you can just play it in whatever browser you choose, and there's an English translation that's built into the game. So I was doing that, and then just on a whim, it switched back to Japanese, and I couldn't find an option. I couldn't find any way to, one, access options, and two, switch it back. So I was like, well, I guess this is a good sign. Not going to play Grand Blue. But the game, from everything that I did play of it, like, seems like there's a lot of meat to it for a gacha game. There is some depth of strategy I was surprised by just at the initial outset, but it's got I can see how Cygames and how Dragalia was designed as that being a blueprint. I think that having not played a ton of Grand Blue, I think that Dragalia is probably a more difficult game because of the input level that is required, whereas Grand Blue is more just like like a tag and attack, whereas Dragalia, you actually are moving and manipulating characters and utilizing actions and cheesing frames to optimize damage output. So I don't know, like it was interesting to look at another gacha game in the context that I know too much about Dragalia at this point.
So wait, is Grand Blue like just straight up like turn-based RPG, or what is the... Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I mean, it sounds kind of fun.
It does. Yeah, it seems really cool, and it just blows my mind. Like, why is there not a Western, product for this? Why do you have to go to the Japanese store, or why do you have to only play it in a browser? It's baffling.
Yeah, that is very...
The character art gives me major FFT vibes, and I dig it.
Yeah. The character designs are so much better in Grand Blue than they are in Dragalia.
Grand Blue sounds less cheesable than Dragalia. Well, if you have to master frame timing and stuff in Dragalia, then presumably you can just avoid shit all the time if you're good.
It's not necessarily you avoid shit. It's like people have found ways to play the game that are optimized. Like, so like a katana sword user has a 5-hit combo, but if you disrupt your combo slightly before the 5th hit and go into a force attack, you can technically do more damage and your output is greater, and then you can reset your combo again. So that's dumb.
Yeah. That is kind of dumb. I mean, I don't know. I guess people have said Grand Blue is one of those games that's relatively generous, right? Yeah.
Grand Blue?
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, I wanted to play more of it to kind of just see what the difference is, but I understand that from what I played, now I understand the game of it is vastly different from Dragalia. But I can't talk about this anymore because it's ridiculous.
Talk
Instead,
about Neo 2 real quick.
There's not much to say.
Oh, for real?
Sucks.
Is it worse than Neo?
Yeah. Okay, so what if you were to say what was one of the hallmarks of Neo? Like, what set it aside from all the other Dark Souls games?
I wouldn't be able to say because I didn't play it.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Well,
the answer survey says... it does have a cat. That was so fucking good. The survey says different stances that influence your combat tactics and movement. So, Dark Souls design, right? Like, you've got... a character that is built out with certain stats, and then you use a weapon, and the weapon will have, a predictable movement pattern, attack pattern to it that you can then, leverage based on your stats. Like, I want to be a shield guy that also has a sword, or I want to be a switch axe user that is very dexterous, or that type of thing. Like, so Neo, what it did is it said, okay, well, what if you could be a sword user, but the sword, your katana, has 3 different stances. One is your high attack, middle attack, low attack, and each one of those stances have a different move set, and you have to dovetail each ending combo into another stance that will then improve your stamina gauge and health and boost, and it becomes like a very flowing style attack methodology, but requires a lot of dexterous hand movements to manipulate all the different stances, and being very aware of what stance works best against what enemy and what context and what situation. Like, oh, this stance is really good for dodging. So that's Neo. And in Neo 2 they added another mechanic, which is this I turn in... what is it? What's the, not Pokemon game? Jeff, help me out here.
Temtem? Oh, yeah.
Yokai. So they added in these yokais where it's like you subscribe to a yokai that allows you to do certain abilities. So now you're also managing this yokai meter where you're like, okay, if I get enough meter, I can then burst this yokai to counter, and then I'm in full yokai mode, and I'm attacking, and it's a different moveset. So if you thought Neo was too much, Neo 2 is way too much.
I just think Neo was too much.
And I thought it was way too much.
I played the demo for Neo, and I was like, there's too many stances.
Yeah. Yep. I played a good chunk of it. I played through the first boss, and then was like, okay, this is too much for me. I don't think I could beat the second boss. It just kept destroying me, so I quit. And in this game, I had that moment with an enemy encounter where it's like, hey, use this mechanic to fight this enemy. And I'm like, oh, when you say use it, you mean 3 times to defeat it, not just once. And it's like, yeah, learn the fucking game, idiot. And I'm like,
no, I don't want to.
No. And it also made me really appreciate, Sekiro, in terms of level design, not necessarily in terms of game design, but just Neo was fine in that it was 3-4 years ago. It was a different time, and Neo 2 feels like, okay, nothing has really changed here. And after playing Sekiro, it's like these feel like expansive worlds with interesting locations, and there's some dynamism in it, and especially with the movement abilities that are in Sekiro. I'm like, I didn't love the game, but it also kind of reset the bar for how you traverse a Dark Souls-esque game.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I didn't love Sekiro either, and I'd love to come back to it and give it a fair shake again, but something about it turns me off. But certainly the traversal was great. I mean, it felt really fluid.
Yeah.
It felt really fun. So you think Sekiro kind of ate its lunch a little bit? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Preemptively ate its lunch. As do most Dark Souls. I don't think Neo came out and was a game changer and turned the Dark Souls game on its head. What I'm hoping is Ghost of Tsushima is like the balance between both these, where it's like, okay, you get the dynamic movement and traversal, but also maybe there's just like a little bit more. I shouldn't say that. It's a little bit friendlier than Sekiro, so that dumb brain people can play it like myself.
The nice thing about the Souls games pre-Sekiro is that like in all of them you could just sort of like choose a thing that you enjoyed doing and then kind of stubbornly do that all the way through the game.
Yeah, I'm the rolling guy.
Yeah,
I just roll.
You could be in a battle where
hot roll man,
punished, but you could still roll and win. It just required a lot of perseverance.
Eventually.
Whereas I feel like
totally
Sekiro was like, no, master all these systems, and I was like, I don't want to.
Yeah, Sekiro was like, hey, in Bloodborne when you had to like really just turn it on and jam on the attack button, but then you still had like good dodgeability and recoverability, and like you would still have those like moments of, okay, I can breathe here. I don't have to be perfect. Sekiro's like, no.
Yeah, it's I think for certain types of people, it's probably like the best that Souls has ever been. But for me, it didn't grab me. I wasn't ready for it in that moment. I don't know, but
I literally could not do it. Like I would go online and I would watch people, and they would tell me exactly what to do. Mm-hmm. I could not execute it.
Yeah,
I don't know how people do. Honestly,
I don't know. I just got to.
I'm
just got to that
same boat, Jamie.
And I got really mad.
I don't even think I got that far.
But I think they debuffed that boss because it was too hard. Yeah, but I haven't played it since then. But anyway,
oh sure, I was going to say just one other game that I've been playing probably too much of has been Pokemon Uranium. I actually played a ton of games recently. I went down this kind of bizarre rabbit hole of what non-real games do I have, because I was testing my PC for like streaming capabilities and streaming to some friends here, and I was like, well, I'm going to stream something that's interesting, because they're all like super smart brain people who are really good at games. Like inherently they're just like naturally powerful. They're like fucking Goku levels of video game players, and I just don't like. It's like Jeff, like with you and oh god, Binding of Isaac. Like it's just like absurd level of like, oh, I just see all the systems now, and fucking matrix through them. So they're playing all these crazy ass games, and I've been enjoying watching them. But then I was like, okay, well, what can I bring to the table? So I brought like weird fucking shit that is like pretty deep in the realm of, hey, this may not actually be a real game. So let me see here. Where did I put them? Did they go away? Oh no, they're in Gideo Games. So I played Charles Barkley Shut Up and Jam Gaiden 2, which is a shame that game will never come out, but also that game kind of was too ambitious for its own good. I also played the Charles Barkley basketball minigame. What the hell was it called? I don't remember. A little Metroid AM2R. A little Chasing Birds, which is a free game on itch.io.
How is AM2R, by the way? I played like a hot second of it and then stopped.
I just played a hot second too. I was like, all right, this is better than I was expecting. And then, like I said, I played Pokemon Sage and Pokemon Uranium. And just getting this out of the way, Pokemon Sage is not complete and will never be complete, and it's a fan-built game using very much the Pokemon Uranium template. But been playing Uranium, and I got through the first gym, and that game's fucking hard.
Does it have a reputation for being hard?
I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Like reading between the history of, or reading into the history of the game. But it I don't know if it's just the difference of this game was built like in the, let's call it Pokemon Black and White era. Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but
no, Uranium was built post Generation 6. It has the fairy type in it.
Yeah, I don't know what that means.
But it's...
I just assumed they hacked that in at a later date. Because there's also shinies, and there's also a fucking online network, trading network.
So it most closely mimics Gen 5 in its art style, but it's built in RPG Maker. Or something like that. Yeah,
yep.
So
yes,
it's it's limited in what it can do. So I think its art style its overworld map style is like very much Gen 3, and then its art style in battle is like Gen 5, but it came out after Gen 6.
Gotcha. I think what I was trying to get at is like the
mechanics.
Not even the mechanics, but like the conveniences seem to be stuck in the past.
Okay.
But also there is something in between there where it's like, you know, your HMs have to be assigned to a thing, but you can reuse TMs. Like, I don't know.
So that would be Gen 5
again, I don't have a...
They might have started after Gen 5.
Yeah, I don't really know how that works.
Or something. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, there's ongoing patches for it that update. Oh yeah, there's. I had to patch my copy of Pokemon Uranium before I started playing it.
All development was suspended on the deep web.
I gotta.
You'll have to send it to me.
All right. But yeah, it's really cool. It's hard. It's challenging. Random encounters. I should say the thing that I think that is the most interesting about Pokemon Uranium so far is your party makeup feels more important than ever, and not that like I need to have this Pokemon that does this thing, but because the leveling is such a grind, and because you don't have experience share, and because because battles are like it just feels like there's tougher swings in it, like, you know, you get hit with more damage. Like it feels like when you use Growl or when you use like with Tail Wag or something like that, it actually has an impact on gameplay. So it feels like battles have a lot more meaning to them, and you're not just kind of like chewing through garbage in order to level things up. So then also the experience just comes in a very, very small drip. So your party makeup is like, okay, these are my Pokemon, I will be using these, because at some point you will just get outpaced by the leveling of the NPCs and the combatants, such that I'm like, okay, my option is either grind the fuck out of this to just continually level this, you know, critter up, or I have to go back to like this Pokemon that is like, yeah, I'm not crazy about it, but I got enough levels in it just because I got it at the outset of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into that. Like, especially after Sword and Shield was such, like, you could not lose that game if you tried. Yeah, so no. I'm interested at least in trying that out. So if you could, find a way to get that over to me, that'd be amazing. But that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I feel like quarantine's a great time to play games like that. Yeah,
totally. Yeah, I've been having a really good time with playing it. Like I was telling, I really wish that I could be playing it in like a handheld format. You know,
go ahead.
It's just no.
I was gonna say, it's a bummer, right? Because it's not like it's a ROM hack. It's like a full on game. You know, like it's not like you could just put it onto like a flash card and pop it into your DS, because that's not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. So this is amazing. So you can boot the game up and start a new playthrough with a Nuzlocke.
Oh, cool! That's so cool.
It forces that on you. Yeah, it's really cool. But what I did was I was like trying to stream it, right? Like I was trying to show my friends this game through OBS. And for some reason, OBS just does not detect it. Like, I don't. God only knows. So I looked up. I was trying to do some Googling to try and find like, is this a known issue? Is there a solution to it? And there are solutions and so on and so forth. And I found a way to get around it. But the best thing that I fucking found was there was like one person in the entire world who sounds like a very young boy on YouTube who's doing like runs of fucking Pokemon Uranium, and they are incredible. Like, this is a very Pokemon knowledgeable person, and they have a big personality, and they sound like they're about 12. It's
there
very
any shiny
good.
ponytail moment?
So I don't know what that means, but he has an entire video that's like 4 minutes long about how he lost a save or how he lost his recording in OBS, and it's nothing. It is 4 minutes of nothing, and it just come.
Oh, okay.
No, there's no face cam.
Is it all typed into Notepad? Remember those videos, where they'd like play like shitty metal and then just type on Notepad? You
no,
remember, like,
what is that?
Jamie, perhaps you remember these, where they so like you're like looking up how to do something, like, oh, how to install, I don't know, RetroArch on your computer, and then you click the first YouTube link, and it's like, instead of just being a set of instructions, it's a video of someone typing in real time in Notepad the instructions for what to do. And they're like they're not usually amazing. Right. They're like slightly off.
Yeah. It's always, this stuff is always too complicated.
But anyway. I want to check that out. That sounds really cool. And I kind of missed the bus on that one, but I've always been intrigued by uranium.
Yeah, it seems like the bus is still going.
Sweet. I'm into it.
Yeah. So I just cannot wait to go play more Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm gonna go buy Chimera Squad and never play it. Oh, I played some more Disco Elysium too. After you kind of just needled me about not finishing it. So yeah, I'm playing it again.
Okay. You should. It's real good. Jamie, you haven't finished it, right?
Which one is that?
Elysium?
No, I haven't. I want to.
It's real good. But yeah, we are coming up on like an hour and 40. Should we cut this bad boy? All right.
Sounds good. Unless anybody else has any Final Fantasy VII hot takes.
Great line. Jamie knows the line. It's really good. You know what I'm talking about?
Well, without any context, I do not.
It's the best line in the game. That's all the context you need.
We'll talk.
I guess just to talk about one more thing before we go. I don't think I talked about this before, but if people are looking at playing a game that's not a video game, I've played this like Pictionary style thing. It's like Drawasaurus or something like that. That's been fun in the quarantine life. You're prompted with a word, you select your word, you then draw it, and the goal is to get people to guess it. So that's been fun. Jamie, you said you were playing Jackbox on Zoom. That sounds fucking amazing too.
Drawful was just hilarious.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I've also been playing cracked open a new TTRPG game called Stewpot. You can get it on itch.io, and it's a really cool premise where it's like basically what happens when your adventurers are either done adventuring or failed at adventuring, and now they just open a restaurant. Mm-hmm. So the people that I'm playing with, it really speaks to us because we're all restaurant people. So it's really cool in that like a lot of the games are around that setting, that tavern setting, but it's that same. I don't know if it's like a hack of Blades in the Dark or how it gets contextualized, but there's no dice roll. Well, the dice rolls are only for like setting up which game you'll play, so it's all like spoken word and it's all yes and type structure. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and then it operates in some with some D&D archetypes. But yeah, Stewpot's a really cool game.
Cool.
I don't have a D&D crew, but I appreciate the recommendation anyway. I'll also tell my D&D loving friend in the area.
I've been playing Azul, which I think is a version of a game called Splendor, but I'm not entirely sure. Azul is great. It's simple, yet deep. Anyone can learn it fairly quickly. Good for 3 or 4 people, I would say. Really cool game.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that a tabletop RPG or
no? It's just a board game. It's
okay.
A round probably takes we play slowly, maybe like an hour, but it's basically a drafting and like almost like a work replacement game, but it doesn't. I mean, I use those terms.
Oh, like Animal Crossing.
It's Animal Crossing, the board game.
Whenever I use those terms, like I feel like this game is much more simple than that, but it's very good. It's very well balanced. It's a lot of fun, and I would recommend if anyone's itching for a new board game, Azul is one to consider.
Cool. Good to know.
All right, boys. I gotta take off.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
Go snap some snacks like Steven
I have a
Seagal.
lot of pictures of Steven Seagal in the Discord if you haven't already looked at them.
I appreciate that. That's good fodder for the image tag.
And one
for
of them
this
holding a large
post.
burger is probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's very good. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. This has been Boss Brown Radio. I've been Griffin Hoffman. With me has been Jeff Brewer and James Scherer.
Bye.
Yeah.